Welcome to Navigating the Customer Experience. Want to improve your organization's customer service? Looking for insider tips to knock your customer socks off? Then you're in the right place. Here's your host, Yannick Grant.
Welcome to Navigating the Customer Experience. On today's episode, our guest is Steven van Belleghem. Steven is a global thought leader in the field of customer experience. His passion is spreading ideas about the future of customer experience. Steven believes in the combination of common sense, new technologies, and empathic human touch, playing the long-term game and taking your social responsibility to win the hearts and business of customers over and over again. Steven is the author of multiple international best-selling books, including The Conversation Manager, When Digital Becomes Human, Customers the Day After Tomorrow, The Offer You Can't Refuse, and a technology thriller called Eternal. So, without further delay, plug your earphones in, sit back, relax, and let's jump right into this conversation with Steven. Welcome, Steven.
Hey, Yannick. Thanks for having me.
All right. So, Steven, could you share a little bit about your journey in your own words? Share with us how you got into this whole field of customer experience and just a little bit about why you think it's so important to the success of a business.
Absolutely, with great pleasure. I think I started my journey in my childhood. My parents had a small photography store in Belgium. That's where I live in Europe. And, looking back to how they've run the business, I came to the conclusion later on that they were obsessed with their customers. They were always talking about their customers. They were always trying to find solutions. And they were also very innovative in the way how they reached out to customers. And I'm talking about the 1980s now, so it's a long time ago. But they were working with database marketing already back then. They were working with personalized marketing, and they were really trying to give people a smile on their face when they left our store. And for me, that was like the most natural thing in the world. It's only when I grew up and when I went to other places that I started to learn how exceptional that was to be in a place where the customer is your most important inspiration and the reason why you get up in the morning. So that's how I got basically almost injected with an obsession for customers in my DNA and in the way I was educated by my parents. And I still believe that today. If you look to success or failure of a company, it is just linked to the fact how excited and how happy customers are, how well you have managed to exceed their expectations, how excited they become of what you've done for them. That defines your success or your failure. And then everything else that you do is a result of that. And everything that you achieve is a result of how you treat your customers. And I'm convinced, I'm obsessed with that this is what my research is about. That's what I try to do in my own businesses. And it's part of who I am.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you for sharing. So in one of your more recent books, The Offer You Can't Refuse, you focus a lot on, the importance of what you should focus on as it relates to the new generation of customer expectations. 3 of the things you mentioned are ultimate convenience, partner in life, and save the world. So Could you share with us, just explain to our listeners what that really means, explain those concepts to us and why it is, as a business owner, those are some things that you should really be paying attention to.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in my latest book, The Offer You Can't Refuse, I try to build a model with different components, and each of those components bring value to the modern customer. And, the whole bottom line is actually just having a good product, service, and a competitive price. Mm-hmm. And that's still, of course, extremely important. Without that, you cannot make customers happy. But it's the minimum demand. It's not how you positively differentiate yourself. And then in today's world, especially after the big digital jump forward that we've seen in the last 14 months, digital convenience has also become the new normal. It has become a commodity. Mm-hmm. If you have it, fine. If you don't have it, your organization is suffering. So digital convenience is seen as the most natural thing in the world. So it's not a positive differentiator anymore. It becomes a negative one when you're not playing that game. Mm-hmm. So that's not where you win. That's your ticket to get on board of the train, but that's not how you win. And then the question is, how do you win? And then I play with those two components that you mentioned. Partner in life, which is about bringing positive change in the life of the customer. This is not about how can we sell more to our customers. This is how we can bring more value in their life. This is not about optimizing your customer journey. It's about optimizing their life journey of customers and being part of their life journey in a way that you proactively bring value to them. That's what a partner in life is all about. Mm-hmm. And then that last element, change the world, save the world. I recently talk about changing your world, because if you're a small company in Belgium, or if you're a small company in Jamaica, probably those companies cannot change the world, but they do have the possibility to change their world, change your world. Every organization has strengths. Doesn't matter the size that they have. This even goes for an individual. Every business has strengths that they can leverage to contribute to a better world and to add value to society in a way that goes beyond sustainability. I'm also talking about social value. I'm talking about the ethics that you apply in your own community. And if you work with that, you can actually make a difference. And there are more and more people who expect that from organizations. There are more and more people that want organizations to take the responsibility. And then you have like 4 components: good product, service, price. That's the lowest part of it. The digital convenience, partner in life, changing your world. And those 4 components individually, they bring value to a customer. But if you figure out a way how to bring that story as one storyline, as one experience towards your customers, where you connect those 4 elements, that's when you create what I call the offer you cannot refuse for your customers.
Nice. Very, very nice. All right. So we have to really, really focus on ensuring that we are able to manage the expectations of our customers. Do you find that customers' expectations have changed a lot since the pandemic?
I do. I believe that on the elements that I just talked about, I feel that we made a big jump forward. It almost feels like we stepped into some sort of a time machine. If you take digital, for instance, the latest study that I've seen from McKinsey actually mentions that we made a jump of 7 years into the future in terms of behavior. Without the pandemic, it would have taken 7 years to bring us where we are today.
Wow.
So that is changing expectations. That obviously this is changing how we look at things and what we expect. But also look at the top of the model, changing your world. I mean, I think the pandemic was for many of us a wake-up call, that we suddenly valued much more the things we had and that we used to take for granted. Mm-hmm. And more people are worried about the future of our planet, not just in terms of sustainability and climate change, but also, I mean, the increase in poverty that we've seen because of COVID, unfortunately, the higher demand for healthcare solutions to deal with the next pandemic and how we can avoid that and how we can be more ready for that. Those are all questions that are now on top of our mind. That wasn't so 15 months ago. And the way that people look to organizations has changed in that perspective, that they also understand how companies can bring value in their life, how companies can bring joy into their life. And they expect these companies to keep on doing that. And they expect these companies to proactively try to become part of the solution of some of those global challenges that we're facing. And all of that was already happening before 2020, but it all stepped into a time machine, and many of the trends that people like you and me have been talking about in the last couple of years are now suddenly a reality. It's like the day after tomorrow became today. That's the feeling that I have.
The day after tomorrow. I love that analogy. That's brilliant. All right. So tell us, Stephen, could you give us maybe 1, 2, or 3 tips that you recommend our listeners who are business owners of small, medium, as well as, managers in different organizations across different industries? Maybe 1, 2, or 3 things that you think they need to pay attention to, that you think will be an emerging thing within, maybe an emerging innovation or an emerging expectation of customers within the next 3 to 5 years? Because I know you said we've advanced digitally about 7 years
Mhm.
ahead of our time. But what are
Yeah.
maybe other things in the customer experience realm that don't tap into digital? Because there's that human aspect as well that
Yeah.
you think the organizations need to focus on, that you think will become as an emerging need within the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The human part of the customer relationship will become more premium than before the pandemic. We always thought that digital would replace humans, and I think the conclusion is that that will never happen. There's this old economic law of scarcity, and it learns us if something becomes scarce, it actually increases in value. Well, the human part in a customer relation has never been lower than today. And because of that, we value it more than ever. And being helped by a human in real life is more premium than ever before. I don't know how it is in Jamaica right now, but in Belgium, the restaurants are closed. We have to live from takeaway food or have to take care of our own stuff, and that's fine. But sometimes you miss the hospitality of a restaurant, that there's a friendly human there that actually tries to give you a memorable time, a good time, that you can enjoy life without having to worry about anything else. That's what humans do. That's not what machines do. Machines will take care of the convenience and the efficiency in our life, and that's fine. And if companies don't have that, they're in trouble, but most of them understand that and are building that convenience. But the winners in terms of customer experience will be the ones that have most empathy in their organization, because understanding what people want, how people feel, and anticipating to that will be the crucial skill that will make a difference in the next couple of years.
Yeah, amazing. So you touched on a topic that I get asked all the time when I have different training sessions. It doesn't even matter what level they fall in the organization, whether they're level 1 frontline staff or they're level 4. Let's say they're a C-suite type of individual in the organization. Empathy. What is empathy in your own words, based on your own research, Stephen? And can empathy be taught, or is it something that you have to learn? As does it come as a learned experience kind of thing? How do you? Because people ask me that question all the time. These people lack empathy. I don't know what else to do. I put them through all of these different certification and training programs. They're just not doing what we want them to do with our customers. How do you get your team members to that point?
This is a crucial question. I get that quite a lot as well. And the question is this the responsibility of the team members, or is this the responsibility of the senior leader? And first of all, there are a number of people who don't have any empathy whatsoever, and they don't know how to work with other humans, and they're really bad in delivering a good customer service. And that percentage of people, which I believe is a very small percentage, but they do exist, that percentage of people cannot be trained. They will never be capable of helping customers in a fantastic way. So probably they will have to look for another job where they're not involved with customers, because they don't have the capabilities for that. And then you have a small group of people that has a natural talent of doing these things wonderfully, no matter which context they're in. The majority of us, humans, we have the potential to listen to customers, to anticipate, to proactively help them, and show a positive intent. That's what people really like to see, a positive intent. That large group of people mainly behaves based on the leadership style that they have in their organization. Let me take it to a completely different market. Take soccer players. So isn't it strange that sometimes a soccer player is scoring goals like crazy and is the best player in the team in Team A, and then that player gets sold to Team B, and it's a total disaster. It seems like he cannot score any goal anymore. Is that the fault of that player, or did that player lose his trust and capabilities because he arrived in a different context? And I think this is what is crucial. I'm an optimist, and I believe that the large majority of all people that are working in an organization want to help customers in a positive way, because that gives you positive energy back. So the question is, why don't they do it? And the answer usually can be found in the fact that they don't feel safe in their own environment, where they are not sure what the management is expecting them to do, where they're not sure if they are allowed to help that customer, because the day before the senior leader said, yeah, you helped that customer, but that was very expensive for us to help that person, and now we have to pay $50 extra. Hopefully we have more clients, otherwise we're going to lose money. If an employee hears that, they think, oh my God, if you help a client, we're losing money, and my leader becomes really angry, so I'm not going to do that next time. So they change their behavior based on what they hear and feel from senior leaders. And the fact that you feel safe or that you don't feel safe determines if you will show the behavior that customers expect. So for all your business owners that are listening, the first step before blaming your employees is just look in the mirror and ask yourself, how can I change my behavior to make sure that my employees feel safer to act in a positive way towards customers?
Yeah, wow. That is a very, very, very good answer. Thank you so much, Stephen. And I like the way how you framed it, in terms of taking responsibility for what are you contributing to how that person is feeling and how that person is behaving, rather than saying, it's their fault, it's their responsibility. Really, really great response. Okay, Stephen, could you share with us what's the one online resource, tool, website, or app that you absolutely can't live without in your business?
I think for me personally, that is probably WhatsApp, I think. I use WhatsApp all the time. And I think it's so convenient to communicate. I use it to communicate with my clients, of course, with my family and friends, but also with my clients. I use it to find jokes, but I use it to get inspiration. And we have these inspiration groups that we share stuff with each other. So I think that's the one that I would miss most.
Okay. All right. And
what's yours?
The one app that I absolutely can't live without in my business? I ask that question all the time, and I don't think I've ever had a guest ask me about that question. I guess for me, the one app that I probably couldn't live without is maybe the Notes app on my phone and my computer, because I'm an Apple user, so all of my devices are synced across. My phone, my MacBook, and my iPad, and it just you may go somewhere and you see something and you take a picture. Maybe it's just to reference maybe an article that I want to write, or maybe a topic that I'm looking for a particular guest on this particular area. And it just allows me to consolidate all of my thoughts and all of the things that I want to jot down in one place. And I don't need to go back to my computer after I'm on my phone at the supermarket, for example, or at the beach, and then copy and paste that information, because it already synced across all devices. So I can jump onto the next device and click on the note that I wrote there, and I'm able to reference it. So it's made life more convenient and seamless for me. And I think that's one of the reasons why I am definitely a loyal Apple customer, because I find that they're always finding ways to make people's life easier.
Yeah, that's what they do best. And I'm with you. I'm an Apple user as well, and I also love to use the Notes.
Yeah, and Notes has really evolved over the years. Now you can do scans in there, and you can doodle with the Apple Pencil, or even a regular one of those pens that has the tip that you can use on the phone. I mean, it really, really has. If you're an Apple user, let's say for the last 5 to 7 years, and you see how they've evolved Notes, it really has become a tool that is not just to jot things down, but you can, as I said, save pictures in there, PDFs, signatures, write with your finger or with a pen. It's just become so indispensable that you really value it very much. So I would say that's probably the one app that I absolutely couldn't live without in my personal or professional life.
Yeah, I fully understand. Good choice.
Thank you. All right. So, Stephen, could you share with us maybe one or two books that have had the biggest impact on you?
Sure. Let me think. It's been a while, but I think the book that has the biggest impact to really open up my point of view on how customers make decisions for buying, to buy something, decision making in their buying process. It was a book, came out in the late 1990s from Jeffrey Moore. It's called Crossing the Chasm. And it's a book that the adoption cycle of customers. And one of the conclusions is that the marketing and the communication that you use to convince the innovators and early adopters in the market, and that creates the early success, the communication that you use there should be completely different than the communication and the approach that you use to reach out to the early majority. Because this first group is excited about technology and new features and stuff like that. The early majority is the opposite. They're afraid of new things. So they need to be convinced that everything is easy to use and safe. So they don't want to hear all the specs and everything like that. It's a different kind of communication. And a lot of new products fail because the people who make them think that everyone is an innovator or an early adopter, and because of that, they just focus on that. Then they have an early success. They think, okay, we're on a roll, and then they fail and they fall in the chasm between this first and second group. And I read that in the late 90s, and of course, if you would read the book today, the examples and stuff like that are completely outdated. But I believe the theory, the model that is used in that story is still very relevant today. And that was like the first business book that I wrote, that I read, that really had a big impact on me.
Ah, okay. So we will have the link to that book in the show notes of this episode for all of our listeners that would like to tap into that great content. All right. So Stephen, can you share with us, do you have anything that's going on in your life right now, or one thing that's going on in your life right now that you're really excited about? It could be something that you're working on to develop yourself or your people.
Yeah. It actually started last year. I had a hobby, a dream project that got a little bit out of hand. It was always my dream to write a fiction book, a novel, a thriller. And you mentioned it in the introduction in the beginning of the podcast.
Yeah.
I wrote a thriller. It's called Eternal. Unfortunately, it's only available in Dutch so far. That's my native language. But I got really excited about it, and I was really scared because I've been writing business books for years. I've written 5 of them, and I'm very thankful for the success that I had with them, and I'm getting a little bit used to that whole process and how it goes. But then when I launched this new book, this fiction novel, I mean, I was scared to see what the reactions would be. I was so nervous. And then when the first reactions came in and they were positive and people were actually reading it and buying the book for Christmas gifts, I was really, really happy with that. And then the publisher got really excited as well. And then they asked me, we know that this is a hobby that got a little bit out of hand, but what do you think about the idea of writing 3 books in the series instead of 1? And I'm currently working. I'm finishing the manuscript of the second one. I do that in the evenings. I do that early mornings. I do that in the weekend. I do that in between. But I really love the writing process, and it's giving me a lot of pressure on the one hand, but on the other hand, I'm also enjoying that I can do something completely new. So I'm excited and still nervous about this project.
That's awesome. All right, sounds really good. Definitely have to have our listeners tap into Eternal and look out for your part 2 and part 3 of your series.
Cool.
All right, so Stephen,
cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. Our listeners would have tapped into this episode, and they're quite intrigued with what you're doing, as well as, you know, the different strides that you've made, all of the content that you constantly put out, the books that you've written, and of course, anything that you're going to be doing in the future. And they'd like to keep in touch with you and possibly even connect with you. Where can they find you online?
I share a lot of content on YouTube. So if they go to youtube.com/my name, Steven van Belleghem, I make weekly videos with updates on customer experience and what's happening in this field. So they're more than welcome to join me there and subscribe to my channel. I share a lot of content on Instagram, also about customer experience. I use it as a professional channel, so they're going to find a lot of interesting stuff there. And there's just my name as my account, Steven van Belleghem. Or they can follow me on LinkedIn. If they follow me on LinkedIn, they're going to see a lot of stuff as well. So I think those are the 3 main channels where people can find interesting stuff. I'm also on Twitter and Facebook and all other social media, so they're more than welcome to check me out everywhere. But I think Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn are probably the best places to start.
All right, sounds good. So we will have the links to those channels that Stephen has indicated, so you guys can tap into connecting with him. All right, Stephen, so before we wrap our interviews up with our guests, we always like to ask Do you have a quote or a saying that during times of adversity or challenge, you'll tend to revert to this quote because it kind of gets you back on track and gets you refocused if it is that you feel derailed or off track in any way? Do you have one of those?
I have one of those. It's a quote from Churchill, actually. I'm a fan of Churchill, his quotes. And one of my favorite quotes is, success is the consequence of failure after failure after failure without losing your enthusiasm.
All right. And that has definitely helped you over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was very fortunate. I had good times so far. COVID was a challenge in the beginning, but then I said we need to fight back and make sure that the business keeps on going. And then that actually worked. And at moments like that, it really helps to be focused and to keep that mindset positive and motivated to keep on going, even if you don't have short-term results with that.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you so much, Stephen, for taking time out of your very busy schedule to hop on this podcast with us today and share all of this great content in terms of your experiences, research that you've done over the years, your thoughts as it relates to where customer experience is going, where business owners should be putting their attention. I am sure that our listeners got great value out of all of the content you shared with us. And of course, the 3 things that your book focuses on, which I thought was really, really powerful. So I really hope that they will take away some of this important information that you've shared, marry it into their own organizations, and try to find a way to yield better experiences for their internal and external customers. So thank you so much.
It was my great pleasure. And thanks for inviting me. Thanks for having me. And I'm very happy to stay in touch and see what we can do together in the future.
Awesome. So just want to remind our listeners, please feel free to hop onto Facebook and join our private Facebook group, Navigating the Customer Experience Community, and follow us on Twitter at NavigatingCX. Until next time, I'm your host, Yannick Grant. We also have a new book available on Amazon, The ABCs of a Fantastic Customer Experience. It's available in ebook and paperback. So if you want to increase revenue in your organization, build a stronger service culture, and create employees or develop employees who are really mastering service delivery in your business, you need to grab a copy of this book. Until next time, I'm your host, Yannick Grant.
Thanks for listening. For more awesome resources to take your customer service game to another level, head over to navigatingthecustomerexperience.com. See you next time.